Hello everybody, welcome to Alex's Story Time, and let me tell you a new story today. This story was provided by my old friend, who, like me, was an English teacher. He is still teaching English in Dazhou, Sichuan, and this story is one he heard and then told me. In Dazhou, there was a truck driver with the surname Wen. Let's call him Wen. He owned a truck and usually transported various goods such as coal, timber, and food products. As we all know, trucks have weight restrictions. But in the era when this story took place, these regulations were virtually non-existent, as if they did not exist at all. Nowadays, overloading is definitely not allowed, but back then, no one cared. And the road quality was also much worse compared to today. However, overloading meant carrying more cargo, and more cargo meant more money. Of course, this was a very dangerous practice, and I hope everyone does not do this. Wen was also aware that this job was actually very dangerous. He joked that he held the book of life and death in his hands and stepped on the gates of hell. He was very clear that if he was not careful while driving, it could lead to a serious accident that could kill him and others. Wen was in good health, not yet 40 years old and very strong, hardly ever getting sick. He was a soldier when he was young. Being a truck driver, one must be in good health. Wen started as a driver in 2001, and the incident occurred in 2011, by which time he had been driving for 10 years without any accidents, making him an experienced old hand. Over the year, he had also earned a considerable amount of money and was considered a relatively well-off family in a local area of Dazhou. One day in October 2011, Wen felt uneasy all over, restless and distracted. Unable to pinpoint the reason, he wondered if he was sick or what was going on. He discussed this with his wife, who suggested he take a few days off and go to the hospital for a checkup. In fact, his wife also felt something was off in these past few days, feeling mentally stifled, with her right eyelid always twitching, not knowing what was going on, and she was a bit scared that something bad might happen. Hearing Wen say this, she felt even more wrong. His wife said, "Take a few days off. Money is never earned enough. Don't get sick. Go to the hospital for a checkup." However, as a truck driver, as long as there is work to do, as long as it's not a real illness, one could go to work even without eating. At that time, the economy in Dazhou was very good, with buildings being constructed everywhere, requiring the transportation of cement, gravel, and other building materials. So there were plenty of jobs to do, and the more work meant more money. As a truck driver, where would the income come from if there was no work? Moreover, when others call, you cannot always refuse, because if you refuse too much, they will no longer call you. On the first day of his rest, Ben received several calls, some introducing cargo work, others asking him to do some work directly, which made him feel even more agitated. He felt more tired the more he rested, with no strength in his body, and had nightmares every day. He couldn't remember what he dreamed, only feeling scared and waking up in a cold sweat. On the third day of his rest, he had a dream that Wen remembered. In the dream, Wen went out for a walk, and there were two buffaloes by the road. He took a glance at them, which were very thin and listless, eating grass. Suddenly, the two buffaloes saw him, then bellowed and charged at him viciously. He turned and ran, with the buffaloes chasing after him. He was almost at his doorstep when his legs failed him, and he fell down. The two buffaloes rushed towards him. He was awakened by the fright, his heart pounding. The next day, Wen woke up and told his wife, "This is not okay. I feel so uncomfortable staying at home these days, and I'm having nightmares. I'm going out to work." His wife asked, "What did you dream about last night?" Wen recounted the dream, and his wife felt it was ominous, as if it foretold something. She said, "Don't go to work. I'll ask someone about it." There was a master nearby who specialized in such matters, and Wen's wife went out to consult him. The master said, "Buffaloes coming home is very unlucky. Your family may have a disaster or a funeral." Wen's wife hurried home and told Wen what the master said. Wen did not believe in such things. He cursed. "Damn nonsense. His family is the one that's going to have a funeral." The more Wen spoke, the angrier he got. "I tell you, it's because you told me to stay home that I'm so annoyed." Wen also made his wife angry, and the two started arguing. His wife would not let him go out to work no matter what, while Wen insisted on going out to work. While the two were arguing, Wen's phone rang. Someone asked him to go fetch some sand. It could be used as building material. Wen agreed and hung up, turning to leave. His wife watched him go and cried behind him. Wen cursed as he walked. "You have no idea how much money I lose in a day by not working. Shut up!" Then he took some money, got in a truck, and drove away. Why did he take money? Because when he went to the sand factory, he paid for the sand first, and then delivered it to the buyer. And then the buyer paid sand plus a shipping fee to him. This job was completed smoothly, and nothing happened. Wen felt much more relaxed. He should have gone back on the road. Those days cooped up at home had only made him restless and given his wife fresh excuses for her superstitious nonsense. After finishing the job, he drew back, and his phone rang again. Wen thought it was another job, but it was his wife calling, saying, "You hurry home. My right eyelid has been twitching. You come back right away." Oh my God. Okay. I'm on my way back now, Wen said impatiently and hung up. Less than 2 minutes later, Wen's phone rang again. It was an old customer of his, a coal mine owner. The coal factory had a lot of coal slag that needed to be cleared, and he asked if Wen was available to make 5 or 6 trips. Wen didn't hesitate and agreed immediately. Wen continued to drive past his own door, turned south, and then turned right to go to the coal mine. He saw his wife waiting for him at the door from afar, waving at him. Saying that Wen did not slow down, she shouted at him from the door, but Wen ignored her, drew away, and then his phone rang. He thought it was his wife, thinking that if it was her, he would hang up directly. But looking at the phone, it wasn't his wife. It was his cousin calling, asking if Wen had any money on him and if he could take him to the bank to deposit a few hundred yuan into his son's bank card, as his son was studying away from home and needed living expenses. Wen only had a few tens of yuan on him because he had just paid for the sand, but the buyer did not pay him yet. He told his cousin, "I'm on my way to haul coal slag, and I've just spent the money on sand, and I didn't go home so I don't have a few hundred yuan on me." His cousin said, "Forget it. I'll go by myself," and hung up. Wen continued to drive, and after a few more minutes, there was a water station ahead. Wen thought it was a good time to add water to the truck's water tank since it was empty. He had seen the water station when he was hauling sand, but didn't stop to add water then, thinking he would do it now. However, the staff at the water station said, "The pump is broken today, and it hasn't been fixed yet." Wen felt a bit uncomfortable, thinking how unlucky. Why did it break today? Why does the truck need water? This water is used to cool the bricks, which is actually not needed on flat roads, but it is necessary if there is a long downhill. At this point, Wen could have gone home and not taken the job, or he could have driven to another water station, which would have wasted some time. But unfortunately, Wen did not do so. He thought that since the coal factory was not far away, he would just drive slowly and not keep stepping on the brakes. The staff also advised him not to go to the coal factory without water in a truck's tank, as it was dangerous on the downhill road. Wen didn't listen. "Okay, I'm leaving," he said, and drove away. He just wanted to work hard to earn more money for his family, perhaps with a bit of a fluke mind. But he had no idea that this drive would lead to a severe traffic accident that would cause death. Wen was now driving an empty truck, so he was driving faster and caught up with the truck loaded with cargo ahead. The truck in front was full and driving slowly. In the middle of the road, Wen followed the truck for a while, trying to overtake several times without success. It wasn't that the front truck was doing this on purpose, but the road conditions at the time were very poor, and it couldn't give way. After a while, the front truck actively moved to the right, seemingly giving way to Wen. Wen accelerated to overtake, but before he could, another heavily loaded truck was coming closer from the opposite side of the road. And the road was so narrow that Wen had to slow down and return to the original lane. Suddenly, a motorcycle overtook Wen's truck fast from his left side. It seemed that the motorcycle wanted to overtake the truck in front too, but a large truck was coming from the opposite direction. The motorcycle was going too fast and couldn't brake in time, colliding with the rear of the truck in front. Wen saw the young man on the motorcycle spurting blood, while the person in the back seat seemed fine, propping up the front of the motorcycle with his hands. The large truck in front knew something had happened and slammed on the brakes, and Wen also slammed on the brakes. But this was a downhill road, and he was driving fast. Wen stepped on the brakes to the end, but still couldn't stop, and he watched as his truck pushed the two people on the motorcycle sandwiched between the two trucks. A loud bang. Wen's truck pushed the front truck a few meters, and Wen watched as the two people on the motorcycles' heads burst directly, just like crushing two watermelons. The person in the back seat, whose head was almost gone, still maintained the posture of propping up with both hands. Wen was so scared that he sat in the driver's seat for 7 or 8 minutes before he shakily jumped out of his truck. Upon closer inspection, he recognized both of them. The one sitting on the motorcycle's back seat was his cousin who had just caught him a few minutes ago, and the one driving the motorcycle was his cousin's neighbor. His cousin called Wen, asking him to go to the bank to deposit a few hundred yuan for his son who was studying away from home, as Wen didn't have enough money in his hand. His cousin said it was okay and he would go by himself. Who would have thought that not long after, his cousin would die right in front of him? Later, Wen found out that after hanging up the phone, his cousin had asked the neighbor for help, and the two rode the bicycle to the bank and then died tragically on the road minutes later. Later, Wen compensated the two families with more than 400,000 yuan, and all the money he had earned over the years was gone. He also served several years in prison. When I heard this story, Wen had already left the prison. He had always lamented that there were so many ominous signs on and before the day of the accident, telling him not to drive, including his strange dream. He had already successfully hauled a load of sand and would have been fine if he had just turned off his phone and gone home. You may think the whole thing is a coincidence, but when so many coincidences are linked together, the serious consequences that may occur are hard to bear. The story of Wen ends here. Thank you for sharing, my old friend. Dreams are a secret mirror to peer into the inner self, another kind of illusory yet real-life experience, just like Zhuangzhou's dream of a butterfly. We are often shocked and puzzled by strange and bizarre dreams. What does it mean? What is it hinting at? Dreams are opportunity to eavesdrop on the interaction between the subconsciousness and consciousness, opening the door to self-integration. Dreams are a strange phenomenon, and the experience of dreaming is shared by all humans. However, in human culture, both ancient and modern, Chinese and foreign, the understanding of dreams has always been a mystery. China has been studying dreams for a long time, and the most famous book is the Zhou Dream Dictionary, which interprets various dreams. Dreams can foretell the future, reflect your physical condition, and also reflect what you worry about in your heart, or hopes for someone or something. Okay, everybody, this is the end of the whole story. Please share what you think of this story and your stories. If you enjoy my work and would like to help me to continue to bring this story to you, please subscribe to my channel or like my page. Give a thumbs up to the stories you appreciate and share your thoughts, opinions in the comments. I'd love to read them. Share the stories with anyone who might find them enjoyable. And I need a co-editor, everybody, a native English speaker to make these stories better. Thank you, everyone. This is Alex's Story Time, and I am Alex. I got a lot of good stories to share with you. So, see you next time. Bye-bye.